before the first message is sent and a stranger answers honestly. Make sure you're subscribed. These aren't stories about perfect timing. They're about quiet choices and the moments that reveal who someone really is. Now listen closely. I stare at my phone for a full minute before typing. The twins are sprawled on the living room floor in front of me, surrounded by crayons and half-finished drawings, arguing quietly over who stole whose blue marker. Their voices are the background noise of my life. Constant, comforting, exhausting. The babysitter canceled an hour ago. Again. I should cancel the date. That's what I always do. But something in me, maybe hope, maybe stubbornness, makes my fingers move instead. Me, I need to ask you something before tonight. Me, I'm a single mom. I have twins. Me, if I can't find childcare, would it be okay if they came with me? I stare at the screen, heart thudding, waiting for the dots to appear. This isn't just about tonight. It's a test. Not of his generosity, but of his honesty. Because I've learned the hard way that men say they're fine with kids, right up until kids stop being hypothetical. I met him online 2 weeks ago. His profile was understated to the point of suspicion. No flashy photos, no bio that screamed money. Just a quiet smile, a few lines about work, travel, and liking places that weren't loud. I didn't know he was a billionaire until our third conversation. He mentioned a board meeting. I mentioned a PDA fundraiser. He apologized for missing messages because he was on a private flight. I almost unmatched him. But he didn't talk like someone used to being admired. He asked questions, remembered answers. Never once made me feel like my life was inconvenient. Still, this text will tell me everything I need to know. The dots appear, disappear, appear again. I hold my breath. Him. Thank you for telling me. Him, yes. Bring them. Him, we'll figure it out together. That's it. No hesitation. No, are you sure? No polite excuse disguised as understanding. Just yes. My throat tightens unexpectedly. You hear that? I ask the twins, forcing a smile. We're going out. My daughter looks up. Like with a stranger? I laugh softly. Not a stranger. Just someone new. My son squints. Is he nice? I think so, I say. But we're about to find out. The restaurant is quieter than I expected. Not fancy. Comfortable. Warm. The kind of place where conversations linger and no one rushes you out. I arrive early, gripping the twins' hands a little tighter than necessary. I spot him immediately. He's standing near the entrance, coat over one arm, scanning the room. Not impatiently, just attentively. When his eyes land on us, something shifts in his expression. Not surprise. Recognition. Relief. Hi, he says, stepping forward. Hi, I reply, suddenly hyper-aware of everything. My coat, my shoes, the fact that I'm holding two small hands. These must be the twins, he says, lowering himself slightly to their level. He pauses, then smiles at them. The guy your mom's been talking to. My daughter studies him seriously. You don't look scary. He grins. That's good. I was hoping for that. My son asks, do you like pizza? I love pizza, he answers immediately. Especially the kind with too much cheese. The twins exchange a look of approval. I blinked, caught off guard by how easily he meets them where they are. No awkwardness, no forced enthusiasm. Table's ready, the host says. He gestures for us to walk ahead. I'm glad you came, he says quietly, falling into step beside me. All of you. Something in the way he says it, like it matters, settles deep in my chest. Dinner is unexpectedly easy. The twins color on the kids' menus while he listens to their stories like they're the most important things in the room. He doesn't interrupt, doesn't check his phone. At one point, my daughter asks, why don't you have kids? He doesn't flinch. Life didn't work out that way, he says gently. But I like being around people who do. She nods, satisfied. I watch him from across the table, my guard wavering despite my best efforts. You didn't have to say yes, I tell him quietly while the twins debate dessert options. I know, he replies. But I wanted to. Most people don't, I admit. He meets my eyes. Then most people are missing out. The sincerity in his voice makes my chest ache. Halfway through dessert, my son's head droops against my arm. My daughter follows soon after, eyelids heavy. He notices immediately. They're done, he says softly. We can wrap up. I'm sorry, you whispered. This probably isn't the date you imagined. It's better, he says simply. Outside, the night air is cool and quiet. He helps me buckle the twins into the car without being asked, movements careful, respectful. Like he understands this is sacred territory. At my door, I hesitate. I don't usually do second dates, I admit. Not because I don't want to, but because it's complicated. He nods. I'm not afraid of complicated. I smile faintly. That's easy to say. Then let me prove it, he replies. I study him for a moment, this man who said yes without knowing what it would cost him. Okay, I say finally. One more. His smile is slow. Real. I'll take that. Later that night, after the twins are asleep, my phone buzzes. Him. Thank you for trusting me tonight. Him. I hope I passed your test. I stare at the screen, heart full and terrified all at once. Me, you did. Me, you just don't know what comes next. The dots appear. Then. Him. I'm willing to learn. I set the phone down and lean back against the couch, staring at the ceiling. Because for the first time in a long while, I don't feel like I have to choose between my children and the possibility of love. And that might be the most dangerous test of all. I don't hear from him for 2 days. Not because he disappears, because he doesn't rush. That alone is unfamiliar. Most men either flood my phone after a first date with forced enthusiasm, or fade quietly the moment reality sinks in. The twins, the logistics, the fact that my life doesn't bend easily around romance. So when my phone finally lights up on the third evening, I'm sitting on the edge of the bathtub, supervising toothbrushing negotiations. Him. I was wondering if you'd like to come over for dinner. Him. And if the twins would like to help me cook. I stare at the message. Help me cook. Not I'll order takeout. Not maybe we can do something quick. Help me cook. I glance at the twins, who are now arguing about whose turn it is to rinse. We've been invited somewhere, I say carefully. My daughter narrows her eyes. Is it the pizza man? No, Ismila. It's the guy from dinner. My son brightens. The cheese guy. That's him. They exchange another look. The same silent twin communication I still don't fully understand. Then nod in unison. Okay, my daughter says. But only if he has dessert. His place is understated. Not small. Just intentional. Warm lighting. A lift-in kitchen. Framed photos not of places but of people. No staff hovering. No stead-in luxury. The twins immediately migrate toward the counter where ingredients are already laid out, each labeled with a sticky note. These are for you, he tells them. You're in charge of sauce. My son beams. I'm good at sauce. I had a feeling, he says solemnly. I watch from the doorway, something tight in my chest loosening despite my best attempts to keep it guarded. Later, while the twins sit at the table drawing, he pours me a glass of wine. I should tell you something, he says quietly. I tense. Okay. They don't know who I am, he continues. Not really. I study him. You mean your money? Yes. That was intentional? Yes, he says. I wanted to know if someone liked me before knowing what I could provide. I nod slowly. That's smart. It's lonely, he corrects. The honesty lands. I don't bring people into my children's lives lightly, I say. I know, he replies. And I won't assume I have a place there. That's when I realize something important. He's not trying to be chosen. He's trying to be worthy. Weeks pass. Then months. Nothing dramatic happens. Which is everything. He shows up when he says he will. He learns their schedules. He asks before making plans. When my daughter gets sick and I cancel last minute, he drops soup at the door and leaves without expecting anything. The twins grow comfortable around him, not attached but safe. And me? I start doing something I swore I wouldn't. Imagine. The truth comes out accidentally. Not through gossip. Not through headlines. Through a school fundraiser. I'm standing beside him when a man approaches. Overly polished, overly eager. Mr. Hale, the man says brightly. We didn't realize you'd be attending. I freeze. Hale. The man continues, oblivious. My wife works in finance. She speaks very highly of your portfolio. Silence stretches. The twins look up. Portfolio? My son asks. The man laughs nervously. Just adult stuff. He leaves quickly. I turn to him slowly. Hale, I repeat. As in. He exhales. Yes. The air shifts. You're the billionaire, I say quietly. Yes. I don't raise my voice. I don't accuse. But something in me closes instinctively. That's a big thing not to tell someone, I say. I wanted you to see me first, he replies. Not the number. I did, I say. But now I have to decide whether the number changes things. That night, after the twins are asleep, we sit on opposite ends of the couch. I won't be offended if you walk away, he says. I know what this complicates. It's not about me, I reply. It's about them. I know. You're not just dating a woman, I continue. You're stepping into a life with children who've already lost one parent. His jaw tightens. I wouldn't replace anyone, he says. I would only show up. I study him. Some people say that, I say. Very few mean it. I don't say things I'm not prepared to live by, he replies. The decision isn't immediate. Takes time. Long conversations. Therapy sessions I don't hide from him. Boundaries we revisit and renegotiate. And then one quiet evening, it becomes clear. My daughter asks him to stay for dinner without looking at me first. My son asks if he'll come to his school play. Neither question is forced. Both are offered like trust. He looks at me for permission. I nod. Yes, he says softly. I'd like that. The ending doesn't come with a proposal. Comes with consistency. With him standing in the rain at a school gate. With bedtime stories read badly but enthusiastically. With the twins introducing him not as my mom's boyfriend, but by his name. One night, months later, when the house is quiet and the twins are asleep, I sit beside him on the couch. You passed the test, I say softly. He smiles. I didn't know there was one. There always is, I reply. You just didn't study for it. He reaches for my hand. I do it again, he says. Every time. I squeeze his fingers. Because the truth is, the test was never about whether he could accept my children. It was about whether he could love them without trying to replace what they lost. And he didn't just pass. He showed up. And that's the only answer that ever mattered.